Listen up, everybody. This will only take a second. I just want to tell you all about the cool app that I use to record both of my podcasts called Spotify for Podcasters. You too can download it, start your own podcast, maybe make video podcasts. Or if you want to make a little coin, baby, with your podcast, you can do so using Spotify for Podcasters. So download the app today. What is going on, you guys? So I do a lot of my recordings for my podcast in my car, and that's because I'm all over the place all the time, constantly going because of my job as a trash man, as well as having a second job and just trying to be everywhere. I'm a hunter as well, so like sometimes my recordings will take place after leaving the woods for a hunt or whatever, and so I'm constantly on the move. And got in the car, was super excited to do this podcast episode, and I totally messed up. I clicked record, started recording, and was talking, and got a good 25 minutes of a podcast episode, and I was like, man, that's really good. We're gonna chop it off here. Covered a lot and tried to have some good discussions and everything. And as soon as I hit stop recording, my car goes, phone call completed. And I was like, oh no. And the reason why that's no is because whenever I try to record through the speaker system of my car, or mic system, or however you want to say it, it doesn't sound it sounds awful. And so I was like, maybe it won't be that bad. I clicked play and I instantly went, yeah, it was that bad. And so quickly deleted it and am starting over again. And so today we're talking about vocals, screaming vocals specifically, and we're going to chop it up. We're going to have a good time. Going to list a handful of amazing screamers. It's not necessarily a top whatever list. It's just a list of people that I felt deserve recognition for their amazing screams. And for those of you who may be new to metal, you can go check these guys out. Also, a little bit of a warning up front. I do have a demographic that I did not expect to have, which is a group of 10-year-olds, which is pretty awesome, in all honesty. But certain things I will not be mentioning here because of, viewer discretion. So I will not mention certain band names. I will not mention certain song titles. One, for my own preference, and two, maybe I don't feel like kids need to be hearing those certain things. And apparently I have a kid demographic, which is kind of cool. I'm pretty excited about it. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and one thing that I wanted to bring up was, how is screaming done? Because while doing research for this podcast and everything, I came across this little deal by Backstage.com about doing screaming vocals, and it's how to do it. And step 1, use less air. Yelling is an instinct that is designed to work with no preparation. 2, open your throat in advance. 3, make extra noise in your soft palate. 4, stabilize your neck. 5, put your back into it. 6, bend your legs. 7, do a warm-up and then do a cool down when you're done. And 8, seek vocal training. And I thought the last one was probably one of the biggest things on the list, because just recently Aaron Lewis, the lead singer of Stained, who does do some screaming and also is a country music artist, so we'll probably be talking about Aaron quite a bit on this podcast, because I'm a big Aaron Lewis fan of his country music, and I do enjoy me some Stained. But he actually had to cancel a bunch of shows for the rest of the year, and it's because his medical team told him, yeah, man, you can't keep going right now. You've got to let your voice rest, or you're going to do some serious damage. So he had to cancel a handful of shows that he had for the month of December in order to get that rest. And that was like the second thing that came to mind for this. The first thing that came to mind whenever I seen the Seek Vocal Training was Chad Gray, who is on the list of people that I wanted to talk about today. Chad Gray is the lead singer of Mudvayne, and Mudvayne actually took a hiatus there for a little while, like 5-6 years or maybe even a little longer. And while they were on that hiatus, he was in another band called H Yeah, and he did a video whenever he got back together with Mudvayne, like pre-show. He was like, "Hey, I'm Chad, I'm with Mudvayne, and this is my voice." And then at the end of the video, "Hey, I'm Chad with Mudvayne, and this is my voice." And like in between, it showed like screaming and stuff while he was on stage. And that last part where his voice was the same, he was standing next to this older lady, and he's like, "And it's all because of my vocal trainer." And he points at her, and she's like older, like 70s, I'd say. And they mentioned her name, and I can't remember, or not her name, but her age, and I can't remember her age now. But whenever they gestured at her, I was kind of blown away. Like, it's not somebody you would expect to be a vocal trainer for a band like Mudvayne. So I thought that was kind of cool, and kind of a big deal that, you know, with the right vocal training, that's how these guys are able to do years upon years, and, you know, weeks upon weeks and days upon days of metal shows throughout the year and throughout a lengthy period of time. That's how guys like Corey Taylor, who will be mentioned later, has been able to continue on for as long as he has. And, you know, so many of these guys is with great vocal training. So since we've mentioned Chad, I want to go ahead and list. So for each person on this list, I've got a group, or like I picked like 3 songs for each person that you could go check out to kind of get an idea of what they're all about. And so for Chad, I picked Forget to Remember, Fall Into Sleep, and Do What You Do. Forget to Remember is like one of my absolute favorite Mudvayne songs. Highly recommend it. And then I also want to mention, talking about like the voice thing and like ruining your voice, Jesse Leach, the original lead singer of Killswitch Engage, actually did that to where like they had to like cancel a lot of shows, and he actually ended up leaving the band for years, and it was to kind of like get things fixed and get things right. And then he eventually came back around and became their lead singer again. And like one of my favorite songs with Jesse for Killswitch Engage is Last Serenade. Absolutely amazing song. Definitely shows like Jesse's abilities as a screamer as well as a clean vocalist too. And that's definitely one thing that I want to talk about in the future is clean vocalists. And some of the guys that are on this list will be featured again in that discussion. I also want to give mention to Jamie Jasta, another amazing singer, screamer, I guess, from the band Hatebreed. They're like old school metal, like as far as like the screaming goes. Been around for a really long time. Bound to Violence, To the Threshold, Destroy Everything. Like that's just 3 amazing songs by Hatebreed. Been one of my favorite bands for a long time. Love those guys. And next on the list would be Jonathan Davis from Korn. Not as known as being a screamer as some of these other people that are on this list, but I wanted to give mention to him because Korn is one of the front runners and one of the OGs of metal as well. And the songs that I've got picked for Korn and Jonathan Davis being, their lead singer, however you want to say it, Blind, from their first album, and really there with that one, it's the Are You Ready at the beginning that's just absolutely amazing. And then Everything I've Known, that's a pretty heavy-hitting song, Everything I've Known is. And then Chutes and Ladders, kind of more of like a fun song that I just kind of wanted to throw in here. There is some screaming in there, but it's not as screamy as some other stuff that you could choose. to listen to. Next, we've got Corey Taylor from Slipknot, band that has blown up and become super, super popular. My dad equated them back in the day. People, there was, I guess, like a small section of people, maybe not a lot of people, but at least a small section of people that were like kind of alarmed by them because of like their creepy masks and stuff that they wear, where like parents were like, yeah, you can't listen to them. And Dad equated it to like Kiss whenever they first came out with their face paint. And I would have to say it's probably a little more acceptable nowadays for like certain... I don't know what the right word here is for all this. But I would definitely say it's probably a little more acceptable to listen to Slipknot nowadays than maybe it was whenever they first started, as far as like parental wise. I'm speaking for myself. Certain songs I would let my kid listen to, but not all of their stuff, obviously. But some of the songs that I picked that I felt made Corey Taylor worthy of being mentioned in this were Psychosocial, definitely a hard-hitting song, some very awesome screams, but then also like this is probably my favorite song by Slipknot, and it's off of one of my favorite albums. It's called Left Behind. Just such a heavy song. It's so cool. Just like the range he gets, and even they're like he's like a percussionist, and he does like some of the backup vocals and stuff. Chris, he does some like the cool screams for this one, at least on the live, if not in the actual song as well. And just such a cool song. I could gush all over Left Behind a lot. Definitely one of my favorites. And then before I forget, that one is a really like popular one and was like all over the place whenever it came out. I even think it made like the top 40 pop chart or whatever. Man, just good tune, has some screaming in it, more of a singing one than some of their other stuff, but a good jam. You can put that on and be like, yeah, man, this is a good one. Up next, this guy is like one of my top favorites overall. Maybe not so much known for his screaming as he is his regular singing, but dude's got an amazing voice for screams as well as clean vocals, or just singing, however you want to say it. And that is Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. And songs I put on this list that you could go check out, or just maybe these songs already. Numb, Given Up. I did the radio version of that one, and the reason why that one made this list specifically is the Misery part, where he just like holds his scream for like 17 seconds or something crazy. It's like a really lengthy, and he just holds the note. It's so impressive. And then One Step Closer from their original album, and then I put on here as like a bonus one, Cross Off. It was not a Linkin Park song, but it was a song that he did with guitarist Mark Morton that was just absolutely phenomenal. And if I'm not mistaken, it was one of the last things that he put out before he passed. And so, yeah, Chester, definitely one of my top favorites. Up next, we have Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel. Dude is incredibly gifted with highs and lows on his screams. I mean, he can just like go so low, and it's so gravelly and just so like otherworldly sounding. It's incredible. But songs that I put on here to check out, I keep saying that, and I guess I don't really need to, but songs you should check out are Hickory Creek, The Saw Is the Law, and Without You / Without Us. Some really, really cool songs. There was a couple others that I really wanted to put on the list, and I was like, I don't want to have a huge list of songs, but like these ones, some good ones. Up next, Mitch Luker. Not going to say the band's name. If you know it, you know it. The dude is incredibly gifted. But check out Disengage, Cross-Eyed Catastrophe, and No Time to Bleed. Those songs really show like what he's able to do. Unfortunately, we lost Mitch in a motorcycle accident years ago, and like them and like his band and Whitechapel kind of like linked together in certain ways, and like Phil was a friend of Mitch's and actually got to do their song Unanswered in a live version, which is really, really cool. It was like a tribute band, and not a tribute band, but like a tribute show to raise money for Mitch's family, which I thought was just like awesome. Up next, we have Randy Bly from Lamb of God, and Randy is one of my absolute favorites. I think the first place I actually heard them was from Guitar Hero, in all places. But the songs that I picked, these are just some of my absolute favorites, and I actually had a really cool idea on how to start today's podcast episode off because of this band, but I decided I'm going to hold off on it for a later date. And now you've got something to die for as the 3 songs that I picked. And Omerta, just like absolutely one of my absolute favorites, has a really cool intro and just heavy as all get out. Just amazing song, and I actually used it in my socials yesterday as kind of like an advertisement for today's episode, like putting it in my stories and stuff. So if you guys don't follow me already, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at the Justin's Stories, and then you could also follow me on TikTok at the Justin's Stories, as well as Tin Roof Podcast. I have a podcast. Or not, obviously I have a podcast, but I have a TikTok specifically for this channel as well. Up next, we have a bit more of a poppy, lighthearted guy from the band A Day to Remember. That's Jeremy McKinnon. Dude's screams are really, really cool. I think the first time I actually heard one, it was either Downfall of Us All or Since You've Been Gone, which is, yes, a cover of the Kelly Clarkson song, Since You've Been Gone. And it's a really cool one. It's a fun little beat. So you can check that one out. But I do have the Downfall of Us All listed here as another one to check out, as well as Resentment. Resentment doesn't really have much screaming in it, but it's just a cool song that I felt deserved mention here. Their cover of Cable Car does have screaming in it, and it is a pretty cool cover as well. And then next we have our first girl in the list, which is Tatiana. I didn't put her last name because I knew I was going to butcher it if I tried, but she's from the band Ginger. They're actually from the Ukraine, which I didn't know until doing research for this episode. But I love their song Pisces, definitely one of my favorites. She is a feature on a POD song called Afraid to Die. I put that one in here because I came across that one while doing research for this episode, and I was like, man, this is a good tune, and I felt like it needed to be mentioned as well. And then we have Outlander, which is another really, really good one. And then we have next on our list Howard Jones, who was the lead singer for Killswitch Engage while Jesse Leach was away from Killswitch Engage. And he has his other bands now, which is Light the Torch, formerly known as Devil You Know, and then Scion. And wanted to mention one song from Scion in my list, which was The Blade. And then I've got 2 of my absolute favorites from Killswitch Engage, which is Rose of Sharon and When Darkness Falls. Both songs have amazing, amazing screams in them and just heavy, but then they also have like really, really cool melodic parts that are just so much fun to listen to. And it's cool what Killswitch did with Howard, and it's really cool what they do with Jesse prior to and even now. Like, just such a great band overall. Like, I could definitely talk about them a lot, and I probably will be. So that's something to look forward to. But yeah, man, great band. Up next, we have Alyssa White Gluz. I think it's Gluz, by the way it's spelled. And I, again, apologize for butchering a name. But she's from Arch Enemy, and I've got Nemesis, The World Is Yours, and then the next one is one that she did with Randy Bly and Mark Morton, the same guy that did the song with Chester Bennington called Cross Off. But this one is called The Truth Is Dead. Really cool how they mixed the 2 voices of Randy Bly and Alyssa together here. and just such a fun, heavy song that just makes me smile. Up next, Chris Motionless from Motionless in White. Songs Eternally Yours, Time Bomb, and Code. Just, he's not, like, he's got such a unique voice. He does really great high screams. Like, he goes way high. He doesn't really do many lows, but he goes way high. He's got a really cool, like, singing voice as well. And just, like, Motionless in White's sound is pretty unique to themselves, and I really enjoy it. So I wanted to mention them here. And I gotta mention, I came across a band while I was doing this. I liked their sound. It seemed kind of unique, but they're like a hip-hoppy, metal-y band, which we'll do like a whole thing on hip-hop metal at another time where we're mixing rap and metal together. But they're called Filth, and I got one song for y'all to check out by them that they did with Chelsea Grin, and it's Orc March. It was a fun one to listen to. I didn't come across it until last night after I had finished like getting my notes and stuff together, and whenever I seen that, I was like, ooh, that was pretty cool. I gotta mention these guys. But that's pretty much it for this. And that metal is just so cool, like, because you've got like the old school bands that did more of like a singing, and they would do like a little bit of like glinting at what screaming is today. And then you've got these guys that do like a lot of screaming, and like metal seems like it's got that stereotype of, oh, it's just super angry music. It's not always super angry music. And you know, there's certain things about metal that just make you smile, and that was kind of like the whole point of doing this episode, was to just like talk about some favorites for a lot of people. And if I didn't mention one of your favorites, hit up those socials that I mentioned earlier, and I'll go ahead and mention them again. You know, the Justin Stories on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on TikTok, and then the Tin Roof Podcast on TikTok. You know, go check them out. As far as my socials go, let me know if I mentioned your favorite, or maybe I didn't mention your favorite, and you know, give me a couple of songs that are your favorites of that said person. And, you know, we may talk about it again in a different episode. But it was fun getting to talk about metal. Definitely brought a smile to my face. Hopefully it did to you guys as well. Hope you guys have a great day, and catch you on the next one.